Hi, welcome back to another episode of Sweet Talks. I am your host, Pulse. Today we have with us Azeem, who is the VP of Web3 at Nacci. Hey Azeem, how's it going?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me. This is going to be a fun conversation.
For sure. Thank you for being here. I'm very interested to find out what it is exactly that you do. So maybe you start off with your background a little bit.
Yeah, sure, man. My background has honestly been extremely non-traditional to sort of get to where I am today. I originally started out with the aspirations of going to medical school. I have a
Okay.
bachelor's and a master's in bio, and I was applying to medical schools and I was working in biotech. And I ran the Boston Marathon with the bombings that happened almost a decade ago now. And after that, I was also living in Boston. So that week, I sort of decided that medicine wasn't for me, and I jumped into tech startups at the time. It was something I'd been working on, got angel funding for it, and at the same time started writing with the publication The Huffington Post. And just like as experiences for like being a Pakistani American Muslim who ran that race and wasn't like a suspect of being a potential, attacker kind of thing. And so was doing that for a bit. And then in 2013, I don't know what it exactly was that helped me find Bitcoin, but I have, Coinbase transactions and I was buying and selling crypto back then in 2013. And I ended up writing an article for the Huffington Post in 2013 where I wrote about the opening of the New York City Bitcoin Center. And I went to an event that they did on New Year's. And it was just like a fun event. Got to meet a bunch of people. Nick Spanos was one of the crypto OGs, was someone who helped launch that event or throw that event and at that center. And so went there, got a little bit more into crypto. 2014 early, I tried launching something called Kim Coindashian. Like it was just like a fun side project where it was just like a huge joke, honestly. Like I did a bunch of press with like Newsweek and stuff where I literally even said like I'm trying to get sued, and it was it was just like a fun troll, right? And I ended up getting a cease and desist, shut that down. But looking back, I was thinking
From
about
who?
what people are talking about with social tokens today,
Right.
where
Who
but it
was
was
the
like there was
who was the
the
season from?
the Kardashian family.
Okay, straight from the family.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, or from their legal team, so, you know, uh, and so ended up shutting that down. But I was looking at interviews and thinking about like what social tokens are saying today. It was just way too ahead of the curve. There was no Ethereum. So like it wasn't an idea that I could really pursue anyway, but it was just like a cool mental exercise.
Right.
And at the same time in 2014, I had started using that HuffPost platform to interview American hip hop artists. Big fan. So I started reaching out to people cold. I didn't have any relationships in the space, but very quickly started building up interviews where I was speaking to a lot of the top names and getting a chance to basically start meeting my favorite artists. And as a result, I got to meet the the managers, the artists, the label people, the publicists, the like literally everyone within the industry, and was building relationships in that space. I had a dev shop for some time where we were building apps and websites for different artists, and we did boring stuff as well, but the artist stuff is always the more fun stuff. From 2017 to 2019, I was helping to run a gaming company. I was incubated by a major record label, and we were building out mobile games, live events, content creation, talent management. We were managing like professional Street Fighter players and things like that. And one of the people that we were managing was a professional for a game called Hearthstone, which is like a digital card game. And it's like Magic the Gathering. And as a result of that, in the summer of 2019, I ended up reaching out to the founders of the game Skyweaver, where I was like, this is super cool. And I think that this kid that I'm managing would actually be really good to like get on the public beta of this game. And I ended up getting a chance to speak to the founders, and they started explaining NFTs to me. And like my mind was like fully blown. Like
What year
I
was
just
this?
like the summer of 2019.
Right.
And
Okay.
so, yeah, so like mind was fully blown. I was just like, wait, like digital ownership and like being able to like look at transaction history over time and just everything they're saying now. And my mind went to, I was like, I'm leaving this gaming company and I'm going to build my own blockchain gaming company. And I want to build Super Smash Brothers, but with like rappers and basketball players and influencers and different things like that. And I spoke to every investor that I could, and everybody laughed at me. Everybody was like, "This doesn't make any sense. Like, this isn't crypto. This is gaming." But then gaming people would say, "This isn't gaming. This is crypto." And I couldn't get anyone to give me a dollar, literally a dollar. And as a result, an angel investor I'd spoken to ended up sending me to a company named Aglet, which is like, they were pre-launch at the time. And I came on as head of growth and partnerships, and it was like Pokemon Go for sneakerheads, basically. And in the game, you collect like sneakers in the form of skins that are, virtual sneakers, skins, and then you earn in-game currency for doing things in the real world. And so like very much aligned with NFTs, you collecting virtual items, you're getting virtual goods, you're going out into the real world. Super cool game. We were quite successful for the time that I was there, where we raised almost $7 million. I helped lead media for us, and we were covered in TechCrunch and Forbes and Vogue Business and Business Insider, all the top publications, and got a strong user base. We did work with companies like Gucci and sneaker companies like Stadium Goods. And I was having conversations with Versace and Giorgio Armani and the Lavazza Coffee Group and the NBA, talking about the metaverse in 2020. Funny enough, before joining Aglet, I was having conversations with OpenSea about potentially joining to do business development stuff, but it just didn't work out. And like looking back, life would have been very different had I been. It would have made me the first it was like one of the first non-founding team members of OpenSea when they were like 5 people, I think. And like this was February of 2020, before the boom. And so like not what they are now, but big props to them for what they've accomplished in such a short period of time. And so was at Aglet for a bit, but early 2021, like it was January, for a variety of reasons, I was like, I'm going to step away from this company. And at the same time, had started speaking to some VCs who had wanted to help create like a Web3 Kickstarter. And so ended up starting the journey towards doing that. It was a company named Pollinate. And with that, we raised 1.25 million by like April or May of last year. And then we'd been building the product and put out a product and launched a coin, used a launch pad named Polkastarter to launch the coin in August, and did that for a few more months. We helped a handful of people get funding in the creative space. And around December, I transitioned out to just being an advisor with the company. They were going in the direction of wanting to do things more along the lines of gaming. And I'm just like, this is a good time for me to help part ways with them. Still like great relationship, but just I'm more focused on to the regular entertainment side based on background.
Right.
And then I honestly took some like very intentional time off. Crypto, people don't talk about it enough, but crypto has a way of burning you out. I don't know if you've personally experienced it, but while I was working at Pollinate, I was working with all people who were in time zones that were east of me. And so I would wake up, I'm normally up at 5:30 in the morning, no alarm clock. I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I wouldn't look at my phone for at least an hour, and I would see hundreds of notifications on Slack, on Discord, on email, like on WhatsApp, across the board. And so I'd wake up daily, and by 7 in the morning, I'm totally done, because I had a bunch of people in Dubai, and all these. The UK was like the closest place, so everybody's day was finishing, and I hadn't even started my day. And doing that for an entire year, it was hard, man. It was really hard to wake up at 7 a.m. and be like, I have 250 messages to get through before I even have a chance to like think about starting my own work day. And so I took some intentional time off where I was like, I'm going to watch the old Spider-Man cartoon from when I was a kid. I'm going to fucking play Pokemon. I'm going to, watch movies and TV shows. And so it was in December, I ended up leaving, and very intentionally was doing that. And then started speaking to this company, Nacci, recently, where they said, they want to start a crypto division. They're like a Palantir for good. They have a healthcare division, a social impact division, a government division, and they're putting together what's like a crypto or Web3 or culture division that I came on to help lead. And we are going to be putting out an NFT music platform in some time. Hopefully, we actually have the landing page up by the end of the month, but an NFT music marketplace that's sort of by artists for artists. And as someone who has had a ton of experience working in the space with artists and understanding them in a different way than I find most people are, especially in the Web3 space, everyone's talking about crypto music, NFT music, but none of them have actually worked in the music space, so they don't understand.
Right.
And one of my colleagues is someone who's actually a successful musician who's been on tour, and so she's also been she'd been working on it even prior to this and helped really put the idea together. And so we're going to be helping launch that, and then just sort of see where it goes. I definitely want to take a healthier approach though in work-life balance, because I was completely gone once December came in.
Yeah, and I seen that myself. Like the first question that, or the first thing that you say in this space is, "What time zone are you in?" Because otherwise
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. I
understand
mean,
what you're
even
saying.
our conversation is just like, what, okay, cool. Like I'm in EST, what time zone? And so you're always working in all these different time zones at all times. Like I've learned to calculate time zones so well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the small things always that tire you out or that add up in the day, because it's things that people don't think about. But on our side, like for example, even just doing this show, I have to
Hmm.
keep in mind what time zone is everyone in. What does that mean for me? Where am I going to be at that point?
Yeah.
Um, Mistakes can happen very easily, and that could like ruin things, right? Or take things back. And as we know, time is precious. So I completely understand where you're coming from. Hearing the story up until now is just very interesting for me, to see that you've done all of these things that are pretty much different, right, from one to
Hmm.
the other.
Hmm.
It sounds like you're a true fan of the things that you're doing. So with the music, with the Web3 and everything, like when I got introduced to this space, and that was pretty, it was like pretty recently, like maybe in the summer, so maybe like a year now.
Hmm.
Before that, my background was in kind of like traditional media, music production, directing, those sort of things.
Hmm.
So when you said the thing about NFTs, that was completely my way of thinking.
Yeah.
I got introduced to cryptos and the economy of it first, and
Hmm.
it made sense. I like decentralization. That kind of excited me. But as soon as I heard about NFTs, I instantly got it, and I understood what it could
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. They click. NFTs click for the consumer of every day in a way that like Bitcoin itself or decentralization or decentralized finance, nothing has clicked in the way that NFTs have for the consumer. One of the things that I've said as to like why I think it makes sense that NFTs also took off so soon after DeFi did was the average person, if you get really rich, once you bought like a couple watches and a Ferrari and a nice home, the first thing you start doing if you still have too much money on your hands is buy art, right? And so it makes sense that all these people who got really rich in DeFi and were sitting on so much ETH and all this NFT stuff started happening, and all of a sudden they were like, wait, like I want to buy art, but they're crypto native people, so they're going to want crypto native art. And so now seeing the next steps of it, where I think gaming and music definitely are going to be next. It seems like, there might be some other random outlier that comes out of nowhere, because NFTs for many people did come out of nowhere. And so, yeah.
What, from your experience, from all those people that you were in contact with, even from the very beginning that you said you swapped and you went into kind of the techie world. So you
Hmm.
chose not to be kind of a doctor or go into the medicine world, and you chose
Yeah.
tech. From that experience all the way up to learning about cryptos and being around music artists and Gucci and all these brands that you
Hmm.
said you've worked with, when you went into the conversation of, okay, this kind of Web3 thing exists and this is kind of
Hmm.
the future, and you put your ideas forward, how did they take it? What was their thinking?
Man, I remember when I tried raising for that gaming company and everyone said like this is ridiculous. And in January when I left in 2021 from Aglet, NFTs blew up just a few weeks later. And the amount of people that called me after that, and even now call me because they were like, I remember you talking about this stuff. It's just different. I have friends now who say things like, hey, we're all going to pool a bunch of money together and you're going to manage our crypto and our NFT stuff. Whereas before, people used to be like, when are you going to like get like a real job or a career?
Right.
It's so funny how, like, looking backwards, like you said, hey, you really follow your passions and what you're interested in, and the jumps don't actually make any sense. As I was doing them, everyone was like, what are you doing? Like, when are you going to get a real job? Like, and I was like, no, you don't get it. Like, the artist has social and cultural capital, and I'm super interested in it, and I'm going to be able to utilize that. And then the crypto stuff is the future. The amount of people who told me in the past year, I wish I had listened to you in 2013 and 2014 and just bought Bitcoin, and are now like, what should I do now? It's so funny how it only makes sense in retrospect, right? Is that like this is how it always works. This is how everyone's stories work. And I'm by no means like Elon Musk and it makes sense in retrospect. But even from my level of things, it's so funny how I've seen the change. I've totally seen the change in how people are like, oh, like, you're not only are you not crazy, like you're just so smart that you saw ahead. But during the times that I was trying for so long, man, everybody was like, this is a scam. I don't understand it. Why would people buy this? Like, even when I was at Aglet and it wasn't straight NFTs, it was 2020. It was very like, if I buy the digital, do I get a physical? And I was like, no, for the game. And I was like, then why would I spend money on a digital sneaker? And it was like, it's a status symbol, and within the game for players who play, what I learned in 2020 was that the same way that older people ascribe status to physical objects, like a Rolex is a status symbol among a peer group, a Ferrari is a status symbol among a peer group, a job title is a status symbol among a peer group. Within young people, having the right digital goods, like in Fortnite and in these games, is a status symbol. And so because these digital items are status symbols to digitally native kids who've just grown up with this stuff, it just makes sense. Like, this is going to be important, whether or not old people understand it. But man, I had the hardest time making old people understand it. Like, there were some people who got it, and I always found that there was like, it wasn't hard, but it was about at 40 years old, if you hit 40, and you're in your 40s and I tried explaining to you like the digital world and digital goods, they were like, this is stupid.
Right.
People under 40 could get it. And don't get me wrong, there's still people over 40 who did understand it, but way more often I would be like, if you're 40, you're more likely than not going to look at me like I'm crazy.
I mean, there's still people that I talk to on a daily basis that are under 30 and still don't get it.
I don't understand those people, man. I genuinely don't. To me, the most fascinating thing are the gamers who don't get it and who are so against it. Because, to use an example, my PlayStation's right here. I have my Nintendo Switch right here. My gaming PC's here. My Oculus is right behind it. Huge gaming, like I'm a big gamer, always have been. If I think about gaming and why it made sense to me in 2019 and it just like clicked, was because I was like, wait, I've been buying digital skins or earning digital skins in these video games my whole life. If you want to level up your character and you get the new sword, or if you're going to use fiat money and just swipe your credit card to buy COD points or whatever it is within any game that you play, we've been using digital currencies forever.
Right.
Like, we've been buying and selling digital goods, and to be able to actually have ownership of those things, and then to be able to actually take part in the value of, or like to grind to get something and then be physically able to sell it to someone and then to convert that to money would be awesome. If I grind out the gold gun for an AK in Call of Duty, why can't I sell that to someone? I put all those hours in to earn it.
Right.
And if I want to sell it to someone, I should be able to. And NFTs allow that. So gamers who hate NFTs are the people who I think most perplex me.
I think it has to do with, a lot of it has to do with psychology, right? Just even as the normal stock exchange, works, the trading, the crypto trading, whatever, it's based on psychology. And most people, can't be bothered because it's easy to say, I don't understand. Whereas in fact, it has nothing to do with them understanding. It has to do with they're not taking the time to
Yeah.
understand, or they're not interested enough to do it. But instead of saying, you know what, I can't be bothered to do it, it's easier to put
Hmm.
the blame on something else.
Yeah.
And that can be taken advantage of by people who do
Yeah.
understand, right?
Yeah.
And who do become crypto natives, or who embark on this kind of journey of Web3 and how can I utilize this? Because me being, for example, a music producer and creating music, for me, when I saw that, I instantly thought, okay, this can be a new way of like structuring a record label, right?
Hmm.
Essentially, you don't have to
What
be.
Snoop is doing. Yeah, what Snoop's doing with Death Row. I haven't fully looked into it, but he ended up selling NFTs. I think he launched something on Sound.xyz yesterday. Like he raised over $45 million for Death Row Records somehow through selling NFTs.
I
Like
haven't
it
heard about
complete
this.
you should he bought the rights to Death Row Records, which is what he was originally signed to in the 90s.
Right.
And I don't know what he paid for it. And then he did some NFT sale, and I remember seeing reports that he'd made over $40 million before everything had fully minted out. And then I think yesterday was when he released, it was a song or an EP. I think it was a full EP mixtape type thing
Yeah.
of like music that was on Sound where you could purchase it as NFTs. And I didn't, it was at like noon yesterday or 2 days ago. And so he's already, and I didn't expect Snoop to be the one who would be the guy who would do it. Not to say anything bad about Snoop, but I don't know as much about like his entrepreneurial endeavors, but he's already for sure showing us how you can rethink the music industry.
Yeah, yeah, because I came to a realization at some point that this just doesn't work.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
I was brought up in the UK, but I'm also half Greek, so I came back at some point in Greece, and I tried to kind of make a thing of it here, and tried to bring what I saw from the UK. And not only did they not accept it, but it was just so difficult to do literally anything. I'm not sure if
Hmm.
you're familiar with the Greek scene, but just I'll give you one detail just so you understand exactly what's going on. We don't have like PRS, like a company.
Oh, interesting.
We had
Hmm.
one that stole everybody's money and kind of got shut down. Yeah, so it's literally like, how you're supposed to get radio plays. You're supposed to get. I even have a friend who works in the church, and he tells me we
Yeah.
actually have a log in the UK. We literally have a log of all the music that's being played, and artists get royalties. In Greece,
Hmm.
you don't get no royalties. You don't get any money from anything, apart from if you're like
Wow.
on YouTube and you get some AdSense. But I'm saying
Yeah,
from the industry itself, like the clubs, the shops, the radio, the whatever. No, you don't get any of that. So what
that's
I'm trying to say,
fascinating.
yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, even though it was going well, and we had a few songs that were doing well at the time, um, you're kind of relying on people and an infrastructure that for me didn't make any sense. So I kind of took a step back, and when I found this was when I was like, okay, maybe it's time to kind of revamp the record label again and kind of get back into it, because now we have true ownership. Now we have the power in our hands, and I don't have to be relying on a rapper. I don't have to be relying on a record label, or when I was directing music videos on the artists or the
Mhm.
the studios. So that was very interesting for me, and I don't know how you're seeing it, but I think ownership in general will be the future of everything.
Western hip hop at least has been talking a lot more about ownership in the past few years. I think Jay-Z spurred the conversation more than anyone
Right.
else.
Right.
And as he's done that, it's become more and more relevant to see, do you own your masters? What kind of deals are you signing? Do you really want to sign a 360 deal where you give away all your rights and really just take in advance, which is just a big loan at bad interest rates?
Yeah.
And how to sort of go about that. And so I'm seeing that conversation change daily, and ownership is becoming way more of a thing. We have an artist here out of Chicago named Lil Durk, who recently was talking about how he signed a $40 million deal, and everyone was in the comments saying, but you probably gave up rights to everything. And so there's an argument of for and against what he did. And a few years ago, that would never happen. And it's, if someone wants to take a $40 million check, I don't have close to that kind of money. So I can understand why he'd want to take that. I
Right.
don't know what the terms of the deal were, but to me, the interesting part is that people are having that conversation now about like, ownership and why it's important. And so I do think that it's going to be extremely important looking ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that it started with hip hop. As you understand, I'm obviously, like you, very passionate about hip hop. So it was very interesting to see that that kind of scene was what sparked a conversation around it, because I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of people would expect that, especially with the content and the music videos that were coming out in the time. But like, look at someone like Russ, right?
I
Who
love Russ. He has always been about being independent. And everyone always says because of the hair
you
that I
did kind of
like look
remind
like.
me. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Russ. He's been pushing the independent thing for a while now. And you're absolutely right. I think it's hip hop because if you think about other genres of music, there's never been a genre of music that's so capitalism focused.
hmm,
Hip hop is about being an entrepreneur. Like you come from nothing and you're usually from places where you have no resources and you find a way to be able to make it. And back in the 90s and early 2000s when Jay-Z and Puff decided to like start their own clothing brands, start their own liquor brands, because they had the realization that when they bought clothing or they used alcohol, it wasn't the alcohol brand that made them cool. It was them who made the alcohol brand cool, or them who made the clothing brand cool. And so I don't think there's ever been a genre of music that's been so tied to entrepreneurialism. And so to me, it makes sense that hip hop is the one that started this conversation.
yeah, and I think it happened pretty fast as well. Like, a lot of the rappers and a lot of the things that were coming out were about consuming, about being a consumer and buying.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I think when they realized what you said now, that they're essentially the ones that are making the brand cooler and not vice versa,
Yeah.
that's when we saw, coming up with their own lines, coming up with their own products, what Kanye West has done,
Yeah.
so it's very, very interesting to see that. And I'm very happy, but I wish that would happen for, maybe actually will happen with Web3. I'm not sure, but I would hope that it happens with other countries. Because right
Mm-hmm.
now, I think most of the opportunities are in the US.
Yeah.
Um, and there's just such a massive gap seeing the UK, seeing Greece, seeing other countries not being able to kind of adopt this. And I think that's a conversation that's really interesting, is the opportunities that Web3 provides for people anywhere at any moment.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I completely agree. My family's from Pakistan, so I think about Southeast Asia, where there's a YouTube series or a YouTube channel called T Series, and they are the biggest channel on YouTube. They're always battling it out with PewDiePie. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but like who has the biggest one on any given day is one of them is put out just different Indian music videos, and they have so many videos with hundreds of millions of views. And to think about how you can go to, I mean, Afro beats is killing it, and just like different genres in different places, and the way that there are places that haven't taken up the old Western model of how record labels work. And to me, I think a lot about how you can use NFT music, and even what we're doing with our platform is I've been putting a lot of thought to, as much as it's the West that will make it cool, thinking about what you could do with artists from South America, what you could do with artists from Africa, different parts of Europe, where they can fund and finance things using NFTs and different tech that comes from NFTs without having to sign a record label deal. Like, why? They have distribution through TikTok and Twitter and Discord and all these places. And if they could just then monetize, they don't need to sign a label deal.
Have you found any kind of obstacles with the blockchain? I don't know if you're on Ethereum, where you're basing kind of which blockchain you're, basing your NFTs and stuff. But have you found like difficulty maybe selling these NFTs, or because of
So
the
we
high
haven't,
gas prices?
so the platform hasn't launched yet, but it's a consideration, man. The high gas fees on Ethereum, the problem ends up being that, well, I love Polygon, and Polygon I think is going to actually really kill it in the long term. They've been making some amazing hires. Polygon Studios just hired, who was the head of YouTube Gaming, is now the CEO of Polygon Studios. So they're making really, really good hires. and I love what they're doing, and they're making it more affordable. But there's definitely this perception among NFT people that any NFT that's not an Ethereum NFT is like a low grade NFT, like, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like those are fake NFTs in some way. And so I think some of that perception is going to need to go away, because at least at the moment, Ethereum transactions are way too expensive for people from around the world to be. I mean, they're too expensive for me in the West. Like I've spent way too much money on gas doing anything. But for now, that's definitely one of the things to overcome.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about what the solution could be, because it started with just the high gas fees, but now I know we're going into like a different topic, but it kind of
Yeah.
relates. That everything is, extremely expensive. The gas prices are out of this world right now, even in Greece, even in the US. I know inflation is crazy. There's a bunch of stuff going on around the world that's making everything really expensive. And like, we have to find kind of creative solutions and kind of trial and error and try different things. Like with Rare Candy, we just kind of we were thinking about experimenting with Tezos.
Okay.
And maybe doing some drops like audio releases. So we have this one, for example, a member of our team who is also a rapper called HOC, and he released like a gold physical NFT of his album. And now we're actually thinking, why don't we experiment with the singles, the digital singles, and put them up for cheaper on Tezos, which will have less gas fees, and see will that make a difference?
Yeah. Tezos, actually, the head of product who is at Nacci at the moment used to be, I don't know what his exact role was, so I might misquote it, but I think he was head of NFTs at Tezos before.
Right.
And so, like, we got some good people, and Tezos is one of the blockchains that I actually do like. And even just understanding which blockchain will win. I mean, we're looking at, everyone's like, oh, everyone's talking about how this will be the year of Solana NFTs. Will it be Solana NFTs? Will AVAX do something? Stacks released an NFT platform. Will things stay on Ethereum when Ethereum 2.0 launches? Will it be Polygon? Like, the fact there are so many potential solutions and no one knows which way it'll go, there's a lot of experimenting still needed.
So what is actually the definition of VP of Web3? For me personally, that's the first time I've heard that position.
Honestly, it just means that I'm going to be the person who helps run the division. If it's going to be launching a product or doing any consulting with Web2 or Web3 companies, I'm just going to oversee it. I'm going to probably be doing hires for people that are going to be working with me on different things. But it really just like a title that they gave me, but it's for the head of the division there.
Right. So you're just involved with anything Web3 kind of goes through you, and you kind of create strategies around what's the best way to do it.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, interesting. What maybe problems have you faced with the organization, Nacci, and what are you trying to kind of accomplish?
Man, honestly, I haven't faced any issues. I very recently just got there. And what I actually really appreciate about them and the people that I'm working with is they're very like, we hire or bring in the right people to do the job, and then we just let you do it. Like, we're not going to tell you how to do what we brought you in to do. And that's something I've really appreciated so far. And so I'm less than a month in with them. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like. It's, as long as I have the resources that I need, I'm excited to be able to see what are some of the things that we'll be able to do.
And yeah, that's really hard to find. So,
super hard to find.
Take advantage of that for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm most appreciative of. Like, I got offers from, since I left Pollinate in early December, a bunch of really big Web2 companies offering really good roles for salaries that amount to money that I've never even seen before, right? Like, it was very hard to say no to some of these opportunities, but it just didn't feel right. And so for me, what was more important was what I'm seeing here available at Nacci, which is the ability to execute and use intellectual freedom as to how I want to go about things.
So what did you not find in those Web2 companies? Like, why didn't it attract you apart from the money?
I just knew that it was going to be a place where I would have to neuter any ideas that I thought were fun or cool. And so I would have like this amazing idea, but then I would have to pass it through 5 or 8 executives who like didn't know what the fuck they were talking about, but would have opinions. And then by the end of the release of time that I would like get something out, it wouldn't be what I wanted in the first place. And I also just felt like it was like turning my back on Web3. Like the ethos of Web3 is not to go to like the old boring Web2 companies and get paid a big salary to like put out boring Web 2.5 stuff. And don't get me wrong, like the money would have been awesome, but it just didn't seem right.
Yeah. So I guess you're looking for longevity and creativity in the long
Absolutely.
run, something that you can do for a long time.
Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. I think the opportunities to do money grabs is always there. And I don't blame anyone who takes those roles. I think that it's actually like, it was sort of crazy to turn down the kind of money that I did, where it was like I'd have these amazing benefits and this crazy salary and all of these things. And I was like, no, I'm not interested in even furthering this conversation. And so for anyone who takes it, I think it makes total sense, especially based on personal financial circumstances. But for me, I definitely value looking at the 5 to 10 year play more so than the 1 year to 2 year play. And for me to have the ability to execute on creativity is what I want most, because with Kim Kardashian, I was too ahead of its time. With the NFT gaming studio, I was too ahead of its time. And so now what I want is to be in a place where I have the right resources to execute on something which will feel like or is the right time this time. And because it only takes one time to be right. You
Right.
just like you end up being right once and then everyone will call you a genius. And until then you're crazy. And so like you know,
Do you feel like it's the
I'm
right time now for you? Like, has everything made sense now?
everything is making sense. I think it's still going to take a little longer than I would like for it to. I'm very like, let's go, 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 go. But it doesn't work that way. And I think that's okay. I think one of the most important things is not working based on FOMO. This industry makes it very difficult to do things without worrying about FOMO. And so I've been focusing really hard on, if I see other players in the space, that doesn't mean that they're going to win. First out doesn't mean they'll win. And so taking the time to focus on the right products and work with the right people and put out the right things, even if it doesn't feel like, oh no, we're behind already. And crypto is one of those interesting things where you can be so far ahead of the curve that you're actually behind. And that's something that I've encountered personally, where I was like so far ahead that I was just like, I needed to wait 8 years for Kim Kardashian. And, now social tokens are having a moment.
It's interesting
Or,
to say that, yeah.
like it's the only industry.
So with undertaking all these different tasks and all these different roles, um, how has that impacted your role now? Like, I guess it's helped you in some way, but how have you kind of implemented all the things you've learned? Has that like made a difference in the way you're kind of taking this job now?
I think the thing that it's done for me is it's made me comfortable and confident in things. Is I have, even though I haven't seen the massive successes, each time I think the way that I've told because like entrepreneurship as a whole is one of those things where you have a really high rate of failure. And I'm big on motivation without self-deception. I think that'd be the best way to put it. I don't like those quotes of like, as long as you try hard, it will all work out. Or all you need for success is to put your passion into it. Like those things are true, but the statistics actually tell you like it's totally not. And so for me, what's important is more so that I'm taking bets that I think are worth taking. Like I know that even now, even though I feel like I'm closer to success than I've ever been in the big ways that I would like to see something succeed. Because what I want is like to make something that a lot of people use. Like if a lot of money comes, that would be like a fun byproduct. But like I didn't want to join OpenSea in 2020 because of money. There was no money there. I was like, I wanted to join because I believed in what they were doing. And so the same way now is I'm just comfortable taking the bet because I think it's worth taking the bet. And if it fails, it fails, and then sort of see from there. I'm probably still, statistically speaking, more likely to fail than I am to succeed. You know, if you like put the numbers together, like I'm still way more likely to fail. But like each failure has its own like learning and experiences and fun and jokes for later and everything like that. Like at the end of the day, I have a roof over my head. I have food to eat. My family doesn't need anything. Maybe I can't buy a Lambo, but like as long as I get to like do what I want to every day and like sort of fight that fight, like I'm happy, man.
Yeah, yeah. Not yet, at least. Maybe you will one day.
Maybe you never know.
That's the thing. Like you said, you know, statistically, maybe you're not, but statistically, if you keep trying, then maybe you will.
That's the other thing is like, let's say I said, you know, I still wouldn't say the success rate on what I'm looking to do is higher than, let's say, 10%, maybe 20. Like I'm not going to say I have a 90% rate. Like I would be asinine to say I think I'm going to 90% chance of massive success. Like that would be crazy. So let's just call it even 10 to 20. But let's say I'm right on this 10% chance. It could be insane number, like insane stuff that I couldn't even dream of.
Right.
But like that's exciting, you know? That's exciting. And then, you know, I've done this a few times and it didn't work. So let's say you have a 10% chance of getting something right. If you do it 10 times, you'll hit the 1 out of 10. So like I'm sort of getting towards that. And I've always believed it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. It's just like any successful person you read about, you end up finding that they were grinding for a really long time before they were successful. And so like I grind because I enjoy it. And so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's the 10,000 hour thing, right?
It's the 10,000 hour thing. It's the 10,000 hour thing. Yeah.
So what excites you about the future in terms of your personal career, what your goals are and stuff in terms of the technology? Like how do you see, for example, let's take the future of NFTs. How do you see the future of NFTs and how does that excite you for your future, how you can implement that?
I think that right now, for the most part, we are building toys with NFTs. And I am really excited at what things look like in 5 to 10 years when we reimagine titles for cars and deeds for homes and death certificates and being able to, let's say, I don't know, tokenize a neighborhood and be able to potentially purchase tokens in neighborhoods throughout the world that you think will end up being more valuable, which then give countries or towns or places the liquidity they need to help start a city up in a different way. And so there's like so many exciting possibilities that come with what I think will be real businesses like healthcare. We haven't done anything in healthcare with NFTs or crypto yet. And if we have, I haven't heard of it. And so to me, what I'm most excited about is being in this space long enough to then get into like, what's an interesting government contract going to look like in the crypto space, where, you know, you can work with whether it's the government in Greece or the government in America or in Dubai, what are the contracts that like they're going to need help with that you can do interesting things, or you know, like there's going to be so much business opportunities that open up because of this. So to me, that's the stuff that's exciting. Whereas now, like spending $13 million on a crypto punk, like this is just toys, man. Like, it's fun. I love toys, but it's just toys right now.
Yeah, I think when it can really change infrastructures, like was it when Venezuela actually took on Bitcoin as their national currency?
Yeah.
That those are the things that can, you know, really affect and change people, because at the end of the day, that's what really, for me at least, that's what really matters is people. Because at least for me, going into Web3, it was about decentralization. It was about taking the power away from this kind of oligarchy and this kind of patriarchy of people who have been in charge for so long, and finally giving an opportunity to people, you know, the everyday kind of people, to have freedom, to have power, to be able to change things. So hopefully, automizing certain things, it certainly comes with its challenges.
Definitely.
But I think ultimately, apart from the people that we talked about before that are over 40 or whatever, that don't understand, at some point they will understand. And I think at some point it will make sense. And I'm all for automizing things that, can be done by themselves. But at the end of the day, we do need some kind of emotion, some kind of person, some kind of human with emotions to make certain decisions, because otherwise we're just going to be robots.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I'm excited for it though. Like there's a lot of potential. I think what's cool about this space is that if you want to start a regular Web2 company at the moment and you try to raise venture capital or start a business, you can find 1,000 reasons and 1,000 companies and case studies as to why what your idea has failed 1,000 times before. That's not the case in crypto yet, and so Web3 is full of possibility, and possibility means a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because that's what excited me about it as well. I kind of felt like I reached the end, like I had explored everything I could explore, and it's almost like you find an island, that hasn't been kind of stepped on
Yeah,
once,
exactly.
and you're
Yes,
like,
that's a good way to put it. That's a
what
good
can
way
I
to put
do?
it.
I can build anything I want here. I can make any creation, any laws. There's no regulations. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying it is what it is.
it's exploration. That's it. Like, you're right. It is like, it's uncharted territories and discovering new lands and new opportunities. And like, that's exciting.
For sure. Maybe before we kind of wrap things up, maybe tell us a bit about your future aspirations or any future projects you're working on, or anything you want to plug.
Nah, nothing really, to be honest with you. I'm excited about the music platform we'll be releasing. Is called Super Fanatics. I'm going to be speaking at NFT NYC and should be giving a presentation about it there in June. I I might be speaking at NFT Miami, which is April 1st to 3rd, about Super Fanatics as well. I'm waiting to hear back about that. We should be putting the landing page up at the end of this month, it's looking like. So I'm just looking forward overall to being able to put that out and just get going. There's so much cool stuff happening, but I wouldn't say there's anything like specifically plugging. I might get back into doing some content. Honestly, just doing this episode has been cool enough that I've done so many interviews in the past with the Huffington Post stuff that I'm thinking it might be time to like bring it back and have some fun with content.
Right.
But we'll see about that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm going to have all your links, everything that you want, your Twitter, your
Yep.
social media underneath. For anybody watching, thank you for watching and being here. If you want to educate yourself on all things NFTs, crypto stuff, we have a Discord community you can find in the description. Otherwise, you can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram. Again, Azeem, thank you very much for being here. I really had a lot of fun. I learned a lot. Thank you, and peace out.
Dope combo, man. Peace.